Happy Monday, everybody. This week, we're talking all about sleep and why it's so important and could be holding you back from getting the results you want. First, let's talk about why sleep plays such an important role in your results, and not only in your training, but in your nutrition and just consistency and adherence overall. So, the number one thing that I think people miss about getting good sleep is actually our decision making ability. I don't know about you, but I'm going to guess based on my personal experience and experience with other clients that after a poor night's sleep, making good decisions is much more challenging, especially as we get later in the day. Now, if you think about it, this is probably when you tend to make worse decisions anyways, which is later in the day. Now, if making decisions, especially later in the day, is already challenging, doing so on poor sleep makes it near impossible. And if you think about it, a lot of times when you're having problems, especially in the context of fat loss, it's due to late night snacking or just not having the energy towards the end of the day to do what you need to do, whether that's go for a walk or go to the gym. Also, you have to think like, if I wake up super tired, I'm not going to be as motivated to get to the gym. And especially if it's already something that I'm not super in love with or aren't super passionate about, I want to really try to stack all the odds in my favor, and that starts with a really good night of sleep. So what does a good night's sleep actually mean? Realistically, I like to tell people to shoot for at least 7 hours of quality sleep. Now, if you can get closer to 8 or 9, that's wonderful, but I do understand how busy life is. But I really think, making the effort to get to 7 or more is well worth the investment or any sacrifice you need to make. I know there's a lot of people that are like, I just don't have the time for that. But let me tell you, the difference between a poor night of sleep and a good night of sleep is life changing. And I've had plenty of people that go from 6 to 6.5 hours saying they feel really good to 7 to 7.5 hours. And they're like, wow, I had no idea this would make that much difference. So trust me when I say it is worth investing into getting at least 7, if not more hours of sleep. And not only just sleep, but quality sleep. So what does that mean? It means very undisturbed sleep, sleep that you wake up and feel rested from. If you're frequently waking up throughout the night, chances are you're not getting very deep and restorative sleep. And so you might have a fitness tracker that can actually give you this data, but waking up feeling refreshed and ready to go is a really good indication of whether or not you're getting quality sleep throughout the night. But how do we get quality sleep? I'm consistent. I'm going to try to get 7+ hours. How do I make sure it's quality? Well, there's a few things we can do. I would say one of the number one things you can do, this is probably one of the most challenging, is having a consistent go to bed time and wake up time every single day. Yes, that includes the weekend. This is incredibly important because what it's doing is training your body when it should be sleeping. If you've ever traveled, especially a long distance or through multiple time zones, I'm sure you've experienced jet lag. And that is exactly what happens to your body when you continually switch your go to bed time and your wake up time. So if you are 9 to 5 on Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, and then Friday you stay up until 11 and you sleep in till 8, and then Saturday you stay up until 10 and you sleep in till 7. Your body is constantly shifting through time zones. I mean, that's all that's happening. So think about the damage that causes. Not only does that really kind of just suck because you're not getting the good sleep you should be, but that's also a lot of times why people feel kind of crappy on Mondays, is because they've spent all weekend getting poor quality sleep because they've jet lagged themselves. And again, I would say that if you were going to pick one thing, that's probably one of the most important things you can work on right now. It's that, getting consistent with your sleep and wake time. Now, some other smaller things that might be a little bit easier. The environment of your bedroom is super important. So we want it to be as dark as humanly possible. That means shutting off all lights, trying to block out any light coming through the windows, no screens, anything like that. Dark, dark, dark. Also, the temperature, 68 degrees Fahrenheit or a little bit lower. We want it to be really cool. Your body naturally needs to cool down to be able to go into that relaxed state. So you do not want to be sleeping in a super warm bedroom. Some other things you can do, shutting down any kind of screens or electronics about an hour before bed or more. Couple things going on here. I'm sure you might have heard of blue light at this point. Blue light is the type of light that your body interprets as daylight, so it just kind of cues your body to be awake. You can counter that with blue light blocking glasses, but also screens tend to cause internal stress and activity. Even if you feel like you're kind of winding down, it's a lot of stimulation going on in your brain. And especially if you're on social media or the news, that's just pure stress and overload, and it's not good. We want to think about our last hour before bed as a really peaceful, quiet, and wind down time. So shutting off those screens, bare minimum, getting blue light blocking glasses on. Also, just to help with sleep consistency, limiting any fluid intake probably 2 to 3 hours before bed, just so you're not waking up to go to the bathroom all the time. Having your last meal 3+ hours before bed so that digestion has fully taken part. These are all different things that can really help improve your sleep quality. Now, the hard thing is it does take time. It's not going to be you try it one time and all of a sudden your sleep is miraculously better. It does happen sometimes, but more often than not, it's about the consistency of it. So, for a month on end, what I challenge you to do is set a consistent sleep and wake time that are at least 7 hours apart, if not more, ideally 8 or 9. Stick to that every single day, even on the weekends. Make sure your bedroom is super dark and cool. Make sure that you're shutting off screens an hour before bed, limiting fluids 2 hours before bed, and not eating 3 hours before bed. If you do all those things, which I know it sounds like a lot, but it's very doable once you kind of get into the flow of it. If you do all those things, your sleep will greatly improve, which means that all the efforts you're putting into your training, into your nutrition, into your lifestyle are just going to compound that much faster. Because again, if you're getting poor sleep, and I cannot overstate this, if you are getting poor sleep, even if you're doing the right things nutritionally, even if you're doing the right things training and lifestyle, your progress is going to be way more slow or even completely stalled out if your sleep sucks. It's just how it is. Over many years of coaching, I've noticed this with a ton of clients. So let's make sure we're doing the things that we can to get the best sleep we can. And that way we can get the best results. All right, guys, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to comment below, shoot me a message. I will talk to you guys next week, and let's get some good sleep.